Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the part 4 of UPSC CPWD 2016 question paper. This will be the last set of 30 questions of 2016 question paper which we are going to discuss in today's session. Before I start, I just want a confirmation from your end. Please give me a confirmation in the chat if the audio, video and everything is clear to you so that I can start with the session. Please give me a confirmation if the audio and video are clear to you all. Okay, so let us begin with our session for today. So let us continue from where we left out in the past session of 2016 question paper. So we have covered the first 90 questions already. So today we are looking into question number 91 and we will be doing it till 120. That is the last question of this particular question paper. So let us have the discussion with respect to question number 91. So let us start with this. Which of the following materials is capable of taking maximum flexural tension? That's the question. Just a second. Okay, so the question is, which of the following materials is capable of taking maximum flexural tension? So what is flexure? In structural systems, flexure is a term which is associated with bending. So for example, you might have heard about bending stresses, or say in bending stresses there's something called as the flexural equation. That's basically something which has to do with bending. So remember, in structures always, whenever you're coming across the term flexure, you also have the term in beams, you have point of contraflexure, where basically it's a point on the beam where the bending moment changes its sign in bending moment diagram, right? So flexure is a term which relates to bending. So from the given question, we need to find the material which is capable of taking bending tension, which can so basically which is good in bending or bending moment, or which is capable of taking tensile bending stresses. Which of the option would be correct? Bamboo, cement, concrete, lime concrete and brick, concrete and lime concrete. These materials are not very good in tension or not good in bending stresses. Also, it is bamboo which is correct. So bamboo is a material which is good in flexure and is also capable of taking tensile stresses. So option A would be the answer for this question. Next one, the supports given to a dilapidated or otherwise unstable building by means of horizontal or inclined members are called. So they're talking about a temporary support system which is given to unstable buildings, and it is referred to as shoring. So there are two types of strengthening the buildings or building components: shoring and underpinning. Underpinning is a technique used to strengthen the existing foundation or an unstable foundation. Shoring, on the other hand, is used to support unsafe structures. For example, if there is a load-bearing wall and you want to do some repair work in the bottom part of it, obviously you cannot break down a load-bearing wall and directly construct it. You need to first provide additional supports to the remaining surrounding parts, and then you can do the repair work on the load-bearing component. So such temporary supports which you create during repair work and maintenance work, particularly for unsafe structures, is referred to as shoring, or from the given options, shores would be the correct answer. So shoring is the temporary support system constructed for buildings. A similar term for foundations is underpinning. Underpinning is used for foundations. If you look into the incorrect options, struts is a term which is generally used in truss systems. Centering is basically a type of formwork. So basically in concrete structures, formwork is the mold into which you cast concrete. So you have, if you want to cast a slab, you'll need to create formwork for it. So that's called as formwork, and formwork is categorized into two main types. You have centering. Centering is a type of formwork which is generally used for horizontal members like slabs, beams, right? Centering is the term used for slabs and beams generally. Whereas the vertical formworks is generally referred to as shuttering. So shuttering term is generally used for columns, retaining walls, columns and walls, basically vertical members like columns or shear walls, or you can also say retaining walls in such cases. So these are so that's what the term centering is. It's a type of formwork used for horizontal members like slabs and beams. A similar formwork which is used for vertical members like columns, it is referred to as shuttering. And you also have scaffolding. Scaffolding is basically a temporary work platform which is provided on the external faces of buildings. I hope you all know that. So if you want to paint the long vertical face of an exterior of a building, you provide work platforms which is referred to as scaffolding generally. So these are the terms associated with the building construction. The relevant answer over here is, however, shoring. Next one, solar charts for a particular location help to locate dash. So they're asking what is the use of a solar chart. So I've also added a solar chart diagram over here. This is the solar chart diagram for 32° north latitude. Remember, solar chart diagrams are provided different. You have different solar chart diagrams for different latitudes. For example, if you look into Delhi, Delhi is located on 28° north latitude. So for that, you will have a separate solar chart diagram. This is a solar chart diagram for 32° north latitude. So the question here is, they're asking solar chart of a location helps to locate. They gave 2 points: solar azimuth angle and solar altitude angle, sun's position on the sun path. Which of the statements are correct? So if I just show you the sun chart diagram, it mainly has 4 things marked onto it. Number 1, you have the time of the day marked over here: 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. So the time is marked over here. Number 2, the date is marked on the side. You can see May 21st, April 21st, March 21st. So the dates are marked. So you have a grid of date and time overlaid onto a circular diagram where you have 2 angles mentioned, that is solar altitude angle and solar azimuth angle. Now, what are these sun angles? So if, for example, if you look into an XY plane, if you want to locate any point on an XY plane, you'll need to know 2 things. You need to know the x coordinate of it and y coordinate. If you know the x and y values, you can locate the point. Similarly, to locate the position of sun in the sky, you need to know these 2 angles: solar azimuth angle, solar altitude angle. Now, I'm not going into the details of explaining you what these angles are, but in simple terms, solar altitude angle tells you how high the sun rises, and solar azimuth angle is generally taken as the horizontal angle from the reference direction, that is generally north or south. So basically, in this diagram, on the peripheral, say on the periphery of the sun chart diagram, on the exterior, you see these radial angles. So these 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40, 50, 60. These angles along the periphery, marked along the periphery of the solar chart diagram, is referred to as azimuth angle, solar azimuth angle. On the other hand, you have these angles 10, 20, 30, 40 coming inwards till 90 degrees at the center point. That's referred to as solar altitude angle. So solar azimuth and solar altitude angle are represented on the sun chart diagram with an overlay of date and time of the day, so that you can locate the position of the sun. So if I ask you, what is the position of the sun at 10 a.m. on March 21st? So I'll look into the March 21st line and 10 a.m. This is 10 a.m. say probably. You mark it over here, 10 a.m. of March 21st. So whatever solar azimuth and altitude angle will be corresponding to that point, that will be the position of the sun. So if I ask you what is position of a point on x-axis or on an xy plane, you will tell me the x and y coordinate of it. Similarly, if I ask you what is the position of the sun, the answer will be in terms of solar azimuth and altitude angle. So now let us go through. Now I hope you have a brief idea on what is sun chart diagram. Let us now look into the options. First point, solar azimuth and solar altitude angle. Absolutely yes, you find those values on the solar chart diagram. Sun's position and the sun path, yes, that also is marked. You can see the sun paths marked on the sun chart diagram with the position of the sun at each and every given time of the given sun path. You can find out the position. So both 1 and 2 are the correct answers. C will be the appropriate answer for this question. Next one, nosing is provided in, so this is by far one of the most simplest of all the questions. Nosing, everyone knows, it is a part of staircase. So basically what is nosing? It's a projection of tread beyond the line of the riser. So if say this is the tread and this is riser, generally the tread is projected beyond the line of the riser. So this is the riser part, you have tread, the projection of tread beyond the line of the riser, that's referred to as nosing. Now why do we provide nosing? Nosing is provided for multiple reasons, mainly to improve safety of the staircase so that people do not slip down easily. Secondly, it gives better visual sense of the steps. Because of those projections, people with say visual impairity can easily look at the staircase and identify the steps. That is an additional benefit of it. Other than that, it also holds the structural integrity of the staircase and reduces the wear and tear. So you all know, generally along the edges there can always be wear and tear. If you look into tables, any component, along the edges there can be always wear and tear. Even a notebook, along the edges there can be wear and tear. So such wear and tear of the staircase will be reduced if you provide nosing. So these are the reasons for which a projection of the tread is provided in staircase, which is called as nosing. One related term to nosing which you can remember is an ornamental piece which is generally supporting the nosing below. So if sometimes, if say this is the projection, this is the nosing and this is the line of the riser, you have an ornamental band over here which supports the nosing. That's generally referred to as scotia. So you can remember that term. It's a term related to nosing itself. It is provided below the nosing. So however, the answer for this is staircase. Staircase is a component where nosing is provided. So C is the answer for this question. Next one. So terminology related to staircase can be important from exam point of view for CPWD. Next question. Which factor is not responsible for thermal heat gain in human body? So they're asking through which component heat gain in human body does not happen. So when heat enters into body, not only human body, whenever heat gain happens into any object, it's basically due to heat transfer. For heat gain to happen into a body, you should have heat transfer, and there are only 3 types of heat transfer. I hope you all might have studied from your childhood. There are 3 types of heat transfer: conduction, convection, and radiation. Conduction is a type of heat transfer which happens due to direct contact. It passes from atom to atom or from molecule to molecule within a solid. So basically conduction is a type of heat transfer which generally happens in solids due to direct contact. Convection, on the other hand, is a type of heat transfer which happens through fluids. That's basically through hot air. It could be air or liquid. Any fluid which flows will carry heat through the process of convection. Radiation is a type of heat transfer which is in the form of electromagnetic radiation. So these are the 3 types of heat transfer, and all the 3 types of heat transfer can result in heat gain of a human body. Evaporation is the answer for this question because that's not responsible for heat gain. Evaporation, if in any case it has to do something with thermal performance of human body, it will cool down the human body. So if you get, I hope you all know how sweating works. So when human body sweats, what is the reason for sweating of human body? Sweat is secreted by the human body to control the heat. So when sweat evaporates, it cools down the skin. It creates a cooling effect which is called as evaporative cooling. So evaporation, if in any case works with thermal performance of human body, it will result in cooling but not in heat gain for sure. So D is the answer for this question. It is not responsible for heat gain. It is responsible for cooling the human body. So that's about question number 95. Next one. The atmospheric layer near to the Earth's surface is dash. So again, a simple question. Earth's atmosphere is composed of 5 layers. I hope you know that. Troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. You have to remember the layers of the atmosphere. There are terms, additional terms associated with it with respect to the boundaries between these layers. So let me very quickly explain you the layers of the atmosphere. There are 5 layers of atmosphere. There are 5 layers of Earth's atmosphere. Starting from the bottommost layer, close to the ground level, you have troposphere. The next layer is stratosphere. Stratosphere is where the ozone layer is also present. You can remember that. Then you have mesosphere. Stratosphere is given that name because the compounds present there are stratified. So the layer is also stratified. So stratosphere. Then you have mesosphere. Mesosphere is basically the middle layer. Meso is middle. It is the central one of all the 5 layers. The third layer, that's called as meso layer. Then you have thermosphere. And finally you have the external one, which is exosphere. So these are the 5 layers of the atmosphere. There are names for the points where these layers, so the boundary between the layers. How are these boundaries defined? These boundaries are generally defined by the temperature inversion. So basically in the troposphere, as the altitude increases, the temperature keeps on reducing till a point. After a point, the temperature starts to rise again. So that point where temperature rise starts, that's called as the beginning of stratosphere, and this continues till the top of stratosphere. After that, the temperature again will change and it will start to reduce as you increase the altitude. So basically the point where the temperature inversion takes place, or temperature, the trend of the change of temperature changes. Here the temperature is reducing and then it starts to increase, right? So that is basically the concept based on which these layers are defined. Let us look into the names of these. There are names for this. So the boundary layer between troposphere and stratosphere is called as tropopause, always based on the layer below it. So then you have stratopause above the stratosphere, then you have mesopause, and so on. So basically the boundary layers between the boundaries between these layers of the atmosphere are named in this fashion. The layer of the atmosphere, there are 5: troposphere, stratosphere, meso, thermo, and exosphere. So in this question, the atmospheric layer near to the Earth's surface is basically troposphere, the bottommost layer. That is option A, which would be the correct answer for this question. So you have to remember the layers of the atmosphere and the concepts associated with them. How are they defined? As I told you, they are defined based on temperature inversion and so on. So that's about 96. Next question, 97. The high BOD, biological oxygen demand, indicates that water dash is pure, has high level of microbial pollution, has negligible microbial action, has low level of microbial pollution. BOD, biological oxygen demand, is used as a measure of pollution in water sample, be it in wastewater sample or in any water body. Also, if you want to check the pollution level, you measure the BOD. And if BOD is high, so what basically is biological oxygen demand? The oxygen consumed by the living organisms or microbial organisms in decomposing the waste. So if oxygen demand is high, it means pollution also is high. That is the reason why microorganisms are consuming the oxygen, right? So if BOD is high, it basically will signal that the pollution level is high, so has a high level of microbial pollution. That would be the correct answer. For a full understanding of biological oxygen demand, chemical oxygen demand, and various other types of measurements of pollution levels in water bodies or in wastewater sample, you can check out a video. We have a detailed video on this on our YouTube channel, so you can check that video for a full understanding of the concept of BOD and COD with respect to CPWD examination particularly. So that is question number 97. Then you have question number 98. LEED rating of building stands for. So LEED is basically a building rating system, green building rating system, which is controlled by, or which is given, which comes under USGBC, United States Green Building Council. They use this rating system LEED. LEED stands for leadership in energy and environmental design. So B would be the answer for this. LEED is a certifying system, so they certify green buildings throughout the world. Even in India there are LEED certified green buildings. So ITC Green Center, which is in Gurgaon in the Delhi NCR region, that is considered to be the earliest corporate platinum rated green building in India, right? So there are many other platinum rated green buildings, LEED platinum rated green buildings in India. You can look into those details, what are the LEED certified buildings in India and all. So LEED certification, basically there are 4 levels of certification. You can briefly look into those details also, like you have LEED certified, then you have silver, gold and platinum rating. So LEED basically stands for, that's the full form of the acronym. It is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, which is a rating system used or given by US Green Building Council, USGBC. So that's about 98. Next one, question number 99. This again is from the same area of building rating systems and green building systems. The term GRIHA used in connection with environmental performance of building stands for. They are asking the full form of the acronym GRIHA. So GRIHA basically is a rating system from Indian context. This was developed by the Energy Resources Institute. GRIHA is a rating system given by TERI, the Energy Resources Institute. That's the full form of it. And in GRIHA you have star rating for green building. You have 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star. So the star rating of green building by GRIHA is basically controlled by the, so GRIHA is a rating agency which is developed, this system was developed by TERI. So the full form of GRIHA is Green Rating for Integrated Habitat Assessment. So you can check that option. D is the correct answer for it. So you'll need to remember the various rating systems and their full forms. Like you can look into the Japan's rating system, which is CASB, EE, CASB. You can look into the Pearl rating system or Pearl rating system for ST Dama, which is used in UAE. So you can look into various rating systems across the world, their acronyms, full forms. So you can look into those details for the examination. So GRIHA basically stands for Green Rating for Integrated Habitat Assessment. Questions can also be asked on full forms of TERI, full form of USGBC and so on. That's question number 99. Next one, which of the following is not a gateway? So they are giving you 4 options and asking which is not a gateway. So you need to know all the 4 options to answer this question, that which is not a gateway. First one, Gopuram. Gopuram is a temple entrance gateway of Dravidian architecture, Dravidian style of temple architecture or South Indian temples. So at the entrance of South Indian temples, you basically have a rectangular structure, rectangular plan structure, which is of diminishing rectangular, stepped rectangular profile, so something like that. So you have series of diminishing rectangles culminating into a barrel vaulted space or barrel vaulted structure on the top, which is provided with a series of sacred pots or kalash. So that's basically Gopuram, which is the structure for the entrance gateway in South Indian or Dravidian style temple architecture. So this cannot be the answer because it is an entrance gateway in South Indian temples. Amalka. Now Amalka is a term which is used for the flat stone disc on top of the Shikhara in Nagara style temple architecture. Amalka is also seen in Kalinga style temple architecture in the Rekha dual on top of the Garbhagriha. So what is Amalka basically? So if you look into the Nagara style temple architecture, you have a Shikhara. Shikhara is basically something where you don't have a stepped profile. In Vimana or in Gopuram, you have in South Indian temples, it is of stepped profile space. However, in Shikhara in the North Indian temples, you have, it is a temple tower on top of the Garbhagriha, which has a smooth curve, a convex curved profile. It has a flat stone disc on the top, and with on top of that you generally have a sacred pot or the kalash. So this flat stone disc with grooves on it, that's referred to as Amalaka. So this is not a gateway, right? It is part of a Shikhara. Generally Shikhara also has subsidiary Shikharas called as Urushringas on the sides of it. So that's how Shikhara generally is in North Indian temple architecture. So this would be the appropriate answer because it is not a gateway, it is a flat stone disc on top of the temple tower in the North Indian temples, also seen in Kalinga style temple architecture of Odisha. Then you also have Torana. Torana is an entrance gateway for Buddhist stupas. If you look into Sanchi stupa, on 4 sides of it you have the Torana. Torana generally has 2 vertical upright members with 3 horizontal bands. It is provided on all the 4 sides, north, south, east and west. So that's basically a temple gateway again. Then you also have option D, Nandaimon, which is basically a temple gateway in Japanese temple. It is a south gate of a large Japanese temple, so that also is a temple gateway. So Amalka is the answer over here. It's not a temple, it's not a gateway at all. It is part of a it is a flat stone disc on top of the temple tower in Nagara style temple architecture particularly. Next question, question number 101. The only structure made of marble in the entire enclosure of Fatehpur Sikri. So Fatehpur Sikri, basically it is located on an elevated location nearby Agra. It was the capital city developed under the rule of Akbar during the Mughal Empire. So in the Mughal Emperor Ashoka, so used that as his capital city, Fatehpur Sikri. So in Fatehpur Sikri, so basically some points you can remember with respect to Fatehpur Sikri is it is referred to generally as a city without roads because it has a clustered layout. Unlike other Mughal structures, it does not have large elaborately laid gardens. It does have gardens, but not elaborately laid charbagh layout gardens because uh, it's on an elevated ground, so the geographical features, the terrain was not feasible to have expansive gardens like in other Mughal palaces or structures. So these are some points which you can remember about Fatehpur Sikri. So they're asking which of it is not a marble structure. So if I just point out some important structures within Fatehpur Sikri, you have Diwan-e-Aam, Diwan-e-Khas, which are given in the options. Diwan-e-Aam is basically the portion. It's at the entrance itself where the emperor meets normal people. Diwan-e-Khas is basically a space where emperor, that is Ashoka, Emperor Akbar used to meet his contemporaries or other religious people for religious discussions. So that's what Diwan-e-Khas, where the emperor used to meet, have private audience. Then you have Panch Mahal. Panch Mahal is an open pavilion. It is a 5-level pavilion. So that's how it is called Panch Mahal. It is constructed with 5 levels of colonnades with a pavilion on the top. So that's Panch Mahal. That's also a sandstone structure in Fatehpur Sikri. Other than that, you also have astrologer's seat in Fatehpur Sikri. You also have Pachisi Court. You also have Anup Talab, which is a central water body. So these are various components of Fatehpur Sikri. So Salim Chishti tomb also is a part of it, which is a marble structure. So the answer over here, only Salim Chishti's tomb is a marble structure. All the remaining components are made out of red sandstone. Even the Pachisi Court, the Anup Talab, all the parts of it. The Buland Darwaza, which is the main entrance gateway for the Jami Masjid in Fatehpur Sikri, all these are made out of red sandstone predominantly. Salim Chisti's tomb is completely made out of marble. So that's the answer for this question number 101. Next one, 102, the next question. Which of the following have been cited as objectives of 74th Constitutional Amendment Act? Participatory planning, decentralization of planning, review financial conditions of the urban local bodies. So that these are the 3 points, and they're asking which of it is a correct combination. So I hope you all are very much aware about 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts. 73rd Constitutional Amendment Acts have to do with the rural local bodies, panchayats. So 74th Constitutional Amendment Act are related to the urban local bodies particularly. So what was the objective of 74th Constitutional Amendment Act? It was to strengthen the democracy at grassroots level. So basically to develop participation of people at the lowest level of governance. So it's to create a hierarchy of governance, central government, state government, and then have the urban local bodies with a motive to improve the grassroots democracy and public participation. So participatory planning will be an appropriate answer. Decentralization of planning, that also is correct, by dividing the duties to central, state, and also giving some duties at the democracy at urban local body level. So decentralization of planning. Review of financial condition of urban local bodies, so to give financial independence to some works within the preview of the urban local bodies. That was also an objective. So 1, 2 and 3, all the 3 will be the appropriate options with respect to the objectives of 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Next one, consider the following substances. 103, consider the following substances: chlorofluorocarbon, hydrochlorofluorocarbon, halon, helium. Which of the above are ozone depleting substances? So earlier ozone depleting substances like chlorofluorocarbons, halon, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, these were used either as refrigerants, and halon was particularly used as fire extinguishers. CFCs and HCFCs, these were used as air conditioning or air refrigerants in air conditioning. These were banned under Montreal Protocol of 1987 with a motive to protect ozone layer. So these were known to create ozone depletion or result in ozone holes, because of which Montreal Protocol put a ban on these ozone depleting substances. So 1, 2 and 3 are ozone depleting substances. Helium is an inert gas. It is not a, it doesn't react with something and deplete ozone. But the first three, so halogen based refrigerants, so halogen based compounds generally are ozone depleting in nature. So all the first three option 1, 2 and 3 are of halogen based. So you have chlorine, fluorine, halon also has bromine, which are basically halogen based compounds. So 1, 2 and 3 will be the option, correct option for ozone depleting substances in this question. Helium is an inert gas and it is not a ozone depleting substance as such. Next one, question number 104. When rainwater harvesting is undertaken on the roof, the water should be dash discharged to ground, stored in a water tank. Which of the above statements is correct? So they're talking about rainwater harvesting. So when rainwater is collected from the rooftop, there are two options or two things which you can do to it. You can either use it, store it in a tank, purify it to permissive required level and reuse it. That is referred to as rainwater harvesting. You're harvesting the rainwater and using it. The other way is to recharge the groundwater. Recharge is basically you just let it soak into the layers of the earth, and in the process of charging the underground layers, it reaches into the aquifer through the layers of the earth and gets purified in that process. That's referred to as recharging the groundwater recharge. That is different. So discharge to the ground, stored in a water tank. The option will the appropriate answer will be stored in a water tank, because rainwater harvesting is storing and using, whereas groundwater recharge is recharging it or discharging it into the ground. So 2 only will be the appropriate answer for rainwater harvesting. B will be the correct answer. Next, 105. The area of the earth surface necessary to provide resources for a number of specific one-time human needs refer to dash non-marginalization, ecological footprint, eco-sensitive approach, green development. So basically this is a term associated with sustainability. These definitions, so there are terms like ecological footprint, biocapacity. These are some terms defined by Global Footprint Network, which basically try to measure the resources available and resources used by human people or countries across the world. So the answer for this, whatever is defined, it is ecological footprint. So you need to remember two terms, ecological footprint. Ecological footprint is basically the need, the necessity, how much resources are required for a community of human beings. That's called as ecological footprint of that community. If I ask you what is ecological footprint of the earth, ecological footprint of the earth is nothing but the total area required for the people on the earth, complete earth, to use the resources of that area. So so resources can include food, say clothing, other purpose, any resource which is consumed by humanity to sustain, that is consuming of resources. Not only consuming of resources, also area required to leave out the waste. So whatever waste is generated, you need some area for that also. The total area demanded or required by a community of human beings to sustain, to basically use the resources and discharge the wastes, that's called as ecological footprint of that community. It is basically the need which you have for area. So it is measured in global hectares. The measurement unit for it is global hectares. A similar term is biocapacity. Biocapacity, on the other hand, is the availability. How much area is actually available. So a comparison between footprint and biocapacity will give you an idea with respect to sustainability of that community. So answer here would be ecological footprint. B will be the answer. Both ecological footprint and biocapacity are measured in global hectares. The only difference is ecological footprint is the demand, the need for the community. Biocapacity is the availability. When you compare these, you can understand the sustainability level with respect to the practices of that community. That's about question number 105. For further study of such definitions, you can look into the portal website of Global Footprint Network. GFN, Global Footprint Network. On their website, you can find the definitions of all these terms, including ecological footprint, global hectare biocapacity, and so on. That's about question number 105. Next one, question number 106. This basically is where they are asking us which of the following remits is not included under architect service responsibility. So they gave 4 options, and they are asking which of the following remit is not included under architect service responsibility. The options given are taking client's instruction, preparing design brief, design and site development, to appoint clerk of works, structural engineer. Clerk of works is similar to site supervisor, who basically will manage the work and report to the architect. So which of the following is not a service responsibility of architect? So appointing clerk of work would be the answer. So you can, for further study on this, you can look into the website of Council of Architecture, COA. So this is a snapshot of the COA's website where they have mentioned the comprehensive architectural services. So you can, excuse me, you can just check for you can just check for comprehensive architectural services on the website of COA, and you will find the list. So that the service responsibility of architects have been divided into 2 parts. You have part 1 where you have the architecture based, the core architecture based areas, which include taking instructions from this. So the options are a copy paste from the service responsibility listed in COA's portal itself. So you need to go through all these details of service responsibility, the scale of fees, the guidelines with respect to use of the word architect. All these are published on the website of COA. You need to go through all these from the professional practice subject point of view to answer the questions in CPWD examination. So you can just go through the service responsibilities, taking instructions and preparing design brief. So that is written. Then you have site evaluation, analysis, impact of existing or proposed development, design and site development, that also is given in the service responsibility. Then you have structural design, so that also is given in the option. Structural design also service responsibility. Other than that, you also have sanitary, plumbing, discharge, electrical, heating, ventilation, HVAC systems, elevators, escalators, fire detection, fire protection, security systems, periodic inspections. All these are included in the service responsibility of an architect. And allied fields are also given: landscape architecture, interior architecture, architectural conservation, graphic design. These have also been included under allied services of architect. So basically the answer here is appointing clerk of works, which you find nowhere in the list of service responsibility, also published on the COA's website. So that's about question number 106. Next one, question number 107. As per the agreement, a contractor agrees to pay an amount of ₹1000 per day after the expiration of the time limit for completing the construction work of an institutional building. The above amount which the contractor is liable to pay for non-completion of the work as per the terms of the contract is termed as dash. So basically an amount which a contractor agrees to pay for non-compliance of the agreement, that's generally referred to as liquidated damage. So the term liquidated damage is basically an amount which any party, not only contractor, any party within a contract agree to pay to the other party in case they breach the contract. So here they're talking about a situation where the contractor is breaching the condition of not completing the work on a deadline. So for that he'll need to pay amount after the day of expiration, and that is given as ₹1000 per day. So basically liquidated damage is a compensation which is paid by any breaching party if they breach the terms of the contract. So the appropriate answer over here would be liquidated damage. Actually penalty could also be the answer here. So basically liquidated damage is the basic difference between penalty and liquidated damage. Actually D also can be an answer. C or D also can be an answer. So liquidated damage and penalty, the basic difference here is liquidated damage is any amount which any party which is breaching the contract will pay. Penalty on the other hand is the amount which only contractor pays. So even penalty can be an answer for this particular question because they're talking about a payment from the contractor's end only. So if they're talking about a payment due to breach of contract from the owner's end, then the answer will be only liquidated damage. But when the person, when it is payment from the contractor's end, it could be penalty for non-completing, or it also could be liquidated damage as such too, because it is a breach of contract. So they're using this term non-completion of work as per the terms and condition of the contract. So it's a breach of contract. Any payment done in the case of breach of contract is termed under classified under liquidated damages as well. So that's about question number 107. Next one, question number 108. A set of species found in a well delineated geographical location, interacting with one another and functioning together to make possible the persistence of life is held to be. So they're talking about a geographic area, a well delineated geographical area where you have a set of species which together are making it possible for the ecology or ecosystem to sustain. They're asking what is that community called as. It's basically referred to as ecological community. It's not ecosystem. The basic difference between ecological community and ecosystem is ecological community is just the set of species and living organisms of the ecosystem. Ecosystem, on the other hand, it will include ecological community, that is biotic part. It also includes the abiotic components. Abiotic component includes water, includes sunlight, nutrients of soil. These are non-living components of ecosystem. So ecosystem is composed of living and non-living components together. Here they are talking only about the living component or the biotic component, which is referred to as ecological community. So option C will be the appropriate answer. If it is ecological community along with the non-living abiotic components, then the answer will be ecosystem. So these are terms associated with ecosystem. Homeostasis also is a term related to ecosystem. Homeostasis is ability of an ecosystem to maintain equilibrium. That's called as homeostasis. Next one, question number 109. The townhouse has its antecedents in. Townhouse basically is a part of an urban space where there is public participation, where people can gather for public events, for say court hearings or for meetings, for public meetings. So they're asking us, townhouse concept was something which was seen during which time? Ancient Greek housing, 16th century Dutch and Belgian something. So they did not complete the sentence. 16th century Dutch and Belgian cities, probably you can say. Roman settlement, Islamic urban dwellings. Islamic urban dwellings did have townhouse component in them, but the first one, which if you see in terms of timeline, where was it first started? It is something which you see in the Roman settlements. In Roman settlements, in the public square within the forum, so in Roman cities, the central public space is referred to as a Roman forum. In the public forum, in the Roman forum, there was a component of building called as basilica. And basilica is something which can be it is similar to a townhouse or a courtroom of those times. So townhouse has its antecedents in Roman basilica. So Roman settlements can be the appropriate answer. C will be the answer for this. Question number 109. Next one, question number 110. A living residential environment employed by inhabitants of enhancement of their lives while providing security for their families, neighbors and friends is termed as. So this concept, defensible space theory, it was given by an architect and town planner, Oscar Newman. Was an architect who gave the concept of defensible space theory. So what is defensible space? He gave this concept. So he basically published a study done by him, a research conducted by him, where he found that in parts of the city of New York where there are only high rises, the crime rate was found to be higher, because when there are high rises and high density of people, people tend to lose connection with the roads or the connecting network surrounding them, which results in places which are not relatively safer. That was his theory of defensible space theory. And in areas where there are low-rise housing, low-rise high-density developments, that's where crime rate was found to be low, mainly because of people having that sense of ownership. So a residential environment employed by inhabitants for enhancement of their lives, where there is connection with respect to the surrounding space, where people have a sense of ownership, that is basically called as a defensible space. So he explained this concept of defensible space, where people themselves will act as the to take care safety of the surrounding environment. So that's basically defensible space theory. Option A would be the appropriate answer. In this previous question with respect to townhouse, you can remember in Greek cities also there was a public square which was in Greek cities, just like Roman Forum. In Greek cities you have the central, say it is referred to as agora. But in Agora, you don't have a townhouse. It is just a marketplace where you have shops and all. Stoa was a shopping space. Basically, it was a walkway, covered walkway with shops in it. So it does not have a townhouse as such. Roman Basilica is an antecedent for townhouse, you can say. Next question. So that was question number 110 as well. Looking into question number 111. So we have 10 more questions which we will be doing in the next 10 minutes. So which of the following shape is most suitable earthquake resistant plan form? I hope you know this. From earthquake resistance point of view, for building plans, the plan should be simple without much corners to it. So it should be simple in form without many 90-degree angles being formed in the exterior. So plans over here like I-shaped building plan will form a lot of exterior 90-degree angles. These exterior 90-degree angles should be avoided. Even in T you have those angles formed. That should be eliminated, because in such places these can form something which is called as re-entrant corners in buildings. So in buildings, say if you're having such 90-degree angles formed in the exterior, during earthquake it can result in crack formation over here due to stress concentration. Such corners are called as re-entrant corners in buildings. So to avoiding this is important in earthquake resistant structures. So square plan will be the appropriate answer. Simple plan with not much re-entrant corners forming, such plans are always advisable for earthquake design. So the answer here would be option C for 111. Next question 112. NIABY is an acronym for. So this concept NIABY, it is basically related to the concept of waste management. It is also used in the context of nuclear waste. So NIABY basically is not in anybody's backyard. So what is not in anybody's backyard? It is basically say a theory or a concept which relates to not having waste in anybody's backyard. It's not like I will not have waste in front of my house. If you look into the context of solid waste management, if you're having a public bin, public waste bin, it should not be within the vicinity of anyone's building. That is appropriate for the overall community, right? So not in anybody's backyard is not allowing waste to have in anybody's backyard. So that's the concept. It's not like if there is a poor settlement or poor part, you can just throw the waste. There's this also that rich countries transport their waste. There has been this has been observed previously, where rich countries transport the waste to poorer nations. So that is against the concept of not in anybody's backyard. So it is basically a concept related to solid waste management, where the focus would be on a community based approach, where the waste should not be generated, or should not, the detrimental effects of it should not be put on to anybody. So that is the full form of NIABY. That's the acronym, not in anybody's backyard. Next one, setback land use in the context of land use is defined as. A very simple question. Let's go through the options and identify what is setback. Front margin of building from abutting road space, longitudinal leveling in reverse direction to improve precision, settlements of people claiming as backward, uh, provision of reserve stock, money, material, etc. Setback in the context of land use, it is basically front margin of a building from the abutting road. So if there's a road, how much space are you leaving before constructing the building line? So the gap between building line and the road, that's basically called as the setback. So A would be the appropriate answer for this question. Question number 114. Jan Gill is renowned for popularizing the concept of. So Jan Gill was an architect who popularized say basically pedestrian friendly designs. He developed pedestrian friendly urban design. So the answer over here: monumental urban design, access and geometry in urban form, pedestrian friendly public spaces, building friendly public spaces. So pedestrian friendly urban spaces is the correct answer. He has also written a lot of books. You can look into the books authored by urban designer and architect Jan Gill to know his works and the area of his focus. So pedestrian friendly public space is the appropriate answer for this question. Next one, question number 115. Zoning in the context of housing development relates mostly to. So zoning in the context of housing. In housing, zoning term always relates to the density planning, density zoning. So parking zone, prohibited zone, non-smoking zone, density zone. Density zone is the correct answer. From housing point of view, there are always housing densities generally expressed in dwelling units per hectare, and also zoning is done in the context of density zones. So D is the correct answer for housing point of view. Next question is 116. Consider the following for the cultural significance of place in conservation process. So they're talking about which processes in conservation will have cultural significance of the place. Which of the following, consider the following for cultural significance of place, which of the following is relevant. So which is relevant from cultural significance point of view, reconstruction or restoration? Reconstruction is where the structure does not exist anymore, you're constructing it completely, reconstruction. So reconstructing completely, reconstructing something completely will not retain its original cultural significance. Restoration will, however. So restoration will be the answer, because restoration is already existing structure where you restore some parts of it. So it is restoration, restoring something will also involve cultural significance being instilled into it, not only the physical form of it. So B is the answer. 2 only would be the appropriate answer. So there are various levels of conservation. You'll need to look into those details of levels of conservation and their implication. Next one. Talking about levels of conservation, this question actually relates to the same concept of levels of conservation. Let us look into this question. Which of the following are parts of architectural conservation? Renovation, yes, it is a part of conservation. Preservation, rehab, preservation also. Preserving something has to do with conservation. Rehabilitation and restoration. Restoration also has to do with conservation. Rehabilitation is not the term associated with conservation. Rehabilitation is basically related to disaster management. Whenever there are communities which are affected by a disaster, you rehabilitate them. Rehabilitation also is in the case of say where land has been acquired by a government authority for some public purpose. In such cases also rehabilitation is done for those people. So wherever there is a disaster or displacement of original habitat of a person or people, rehabilitation is used. So it is not a term associated with architectural conservation. So which are the parts of architectural conservation? 1, 2 and 4 should be the answer. You have it in the options. Option C would be the appropriate answer for this question. Next one. The process of heat transfer through electromagnetic waves is, I already told you about the types of heat transfer earlier in a question. There are 3 main types of heat transfer. Conduction, where there is heat transfer due to contact and is seen in solids. Convection is a type of heat transfer which is seen in flowing matter like fluids, water and other say gases too. Heat transfer through electromagnetic radiation is seen in radiation. So C will be the correct answer for this. Conduction, convection cannot be the answer. Insulation is also not a type of heat transfer at all. So radiation will be the appropriate answer. Next, question number 119. The star rating of an air conditioner is determined by its star rating in ACs. You see in air conditioners, Bureau of Energy Efficiency gives star rating 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star air conditioners. So that star rating in air conditioners, it is done based on. So it depends on 2 main factors. Cooling capacity, yes, it depends on cooling capacity. It also depends on power usage. But say for example, if you consider only power usage, if I say there is an air conditioner which is having less power consumption, can you say that it is a very good efficient AC? Obviously no, it should also do cooling, it should do its work of cooling. If there is an AC which is consuming very less power, but if it is not giving any cooling effect, can it be called as an efficient air conditioner? Absolutely no. So power usage in itself individually cannot be a factor. Similarly, cooling capacity individually in itself cannot be a factor. Power consumption and compressor capacity, all this, so it is compressor capacity relates to both these aspects. So basically, star rating is given based on, it is based on energy efficiency ratio, EER. So that would be the answer. What is energy efficiency ratio? So D will be the appropriate answer. What is energy efficiency ratio? It is the ratio between cooling capacity per unit power consumption. So cooling capacity should be higher, so it is in the numerator. power consumption should be low, so it is in the denominator. So cooling capacity per unit power consumption should be higher for a good efficiency. So energy efficiency ratio is given by this formula. In United States, generally the practice is cooling capacity is taken in BTU per hour, power consumption is taken in watts. But in India, Bureau of Energy Efficiency uses Indian Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio. So you can remember the full form of this abbreviation. What is ISEER? Indian Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio, which is used by Bureau of Energy Efficiency, that is BEE, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, to give star rating of electrical appliances. So this Indian Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio is a watt upon watt ratio. Cooling capacity also is taken in watts, power consumption also is taken in watts in ISEER generally. So that is 119. The last question of 2016 question paper for UPSC, 120. The enclosed part of a room projecting into the open space on any upper floor of a building is called. So if you're having an upper floor of a building, a projecting part of the upper floor of the building, which is projecting, it's an enclosed space, it is part of the room, but it is projecting beyond the level below it. What is that called as? Balcony, chhajjar, reverse projection, box projection. Reverse projection would be the appropriate answer. They're talking about an enclosed part of a room. Balcony also can be a projection, but it is not enclosed part of a room. A part of a room which is projecting is called as reverse projection. C would be the appropriate answer for this question. So that was about 2016 question paper for UPSC. I hope everyone is clear with the concepts discussed in the course of these 120 questions. We will meet soon in discussing the next question paper also on live sessions on YouTube. Make sure you share it with your friends. Meanwhile, do subscribe to our channel so that you stay updated whenever there's a live session scheduled with respect to the discussion of UPSC question papers. Thank you for attending the session, and we'll meet soon in the next one. And I would really encourage you to prepare for UPSC examination, Deputy Architect examination. It is going to be competitive, but it is going to be a very good opportunity for everyone. Do prepare, and if you want any guidance in this context, you can always enroll into the courses by KP Gate classes, where we have a full study of all the contents required for this examination. We are having online live classes. Batches are already running. You can enroll into the batches very soon. You can get in touch with us on the contact number given in the description of this video. Thank you for attending this session. Bye everyone.